right, let's get rolling here. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Great team win at a really, I think, a difficult place to play in Stillwater at Oklahoma State. Really proud of how our staff and our players responded. I thought we competed really from the opening to the close. I thought several guys stepped up. You know, we talk about a next man up philosophy, and I think you saw that on Saturday. I'll recap the game kind of like we always do, just to give you kind of an idea. I'll start just like team-wise. I thought we started fast, which was a critical factor, and we talked about it a lot because we felt like we'd get their best coming out after losing 2 in a row. Won the turnover margin, we got 2 picks. We didn't turn the ball over at all. And then the time of possession, which is a combination of all 3 phases, 42 to 17. You're going to win that most of the time. So special teams, the things we got to get better at. We allowed the explosive return on the cross-field kick there. We got to be better at that. We didn't cover it very well. And then Ollie's got to have a better situational awareness on the one where they ran into the punter. He should have got that out faster. The positive special teams-wise, our op times are really good. Whether it's field goal or punt, man, our op times are really good. And then Preston fielded every one of those punts, and probably the common fan doesn't understand how difficult that is. First of all, that's one of the toughest venues with sun. So the way it sits down in that hole, when you're going toward the closed end, kind of as the sun's setting, man, that sun is right in your face. And he did a great job. Plus, they punted a righty and a lefty. So the spin on those balls are totally different. And so him fielding those were key. And our PAT and field goal protection was really good. And so happy in that regard. Defensively, things we got to continue to work on. We had 2 dropped interceptions, so missed opportunities. One of them would have been a pick 6. That's the second one of those we've dropped this year. We got to catch the ball better defensively. And then 0 for 2 in the red zone. They got it down there twice. Good news is they only got it down there twice. Bad news, they scored touchdowns both times. So we got to continue to improve that. I think there's some things coverage-wise we can continue to work on to be better. The positives, by far our best performance. They had 36 rushing yards for the entire game. That's 1.7 yards per rush. End of possession downs, they were 4 of 12. They only had 11 first downs. They only played 45 plays, but only 11 first downs. We had 2 takeaways. Thought we tackled really well. That's the thing. As I was watching it live from the sideline, I felt like that. And then when I watched it in the plane on the way back, I'm like, man, we tackled really well. We pulled our pin. We went and got it. Offensively, things we got too many negative yardage plays still. We give up 2 sacks. One of them was on the quarterback, but 2 sacks and had some negative yardage plays in the run game on some run-throughs late that shouldn't happen. And then just poor execution on 2 fourth downs. One of them was I don't know what, you have to ask Garrett what he was thinking on the early slide there. But on the other one, we just poorly executed on the first 4th down there in the first drive of the second half. We had that. We had people to block those. We should have got that. So that was disappointing. The positives: 389 yards rushing. We 6 yards per rush. 10.6 yards per attempt. So we didn't throw it a ton, but when we did, we were getting chunk plays. We had 31 first downs. End of possession downs, we were 11 of 15. And then, man, we broke tackles. And then if you take out that taking a knee in the red zone, we're 6 for 6 in the red zone, 5 touchdowns. And so we really felt like coming into the game, it was going to be a line of scrimmage game, so who could run the ball better, turnover margins, and then touchdowns in the red zone. And so we won all 3 of those clearly, and thus we won the game. So just going back in our award winners for the week that we do after we win, offensive linemen, and we had as a group, anytime you rush for that many yards, you play well up front. And I thought Brandon Yates may have played his best game of the year, but the guy that was the offensive lineman of the week that graded out the best was Tomas Rimac. And he was the most productive. I thought he got movement at the point of attack, played really well. His best game this year so far. Special teams wise is Austin Brinkman, and he's elite. I've said this. Nobody knows the snapper unless something goes bad. Thankfully, it hasn't, but he's elite. He's done a great job. I thought Ty French played really well on special teams too. That's a name. Defense player of the week, 6 tackles, a TFL, pass breakup in the end zone, and an interception was Josiah Trotter. And he continues to get better. And he's going to be special before his time's done here. The other guy of note defensively, Jaheim Joseph. I thought he was really good. And then offensive player, 19 rushes, 158 yards, 8.3 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Did a really nice job in blitz pickup too, and that was Jaheim White. Blue collar, these are guys that played well that don't show up in the stat sheet. Offensively, I'd already talked about Brandon Yates, but Cole Taylor played his best game blocking. And then C.J. Donaldson, we asked him to do a lot of lead blocking in the game, and he executed at a high level. Defensively, two guys that weren't on the stat sheet a bunch, but really controlled the line of scrimmage, and a big reason why we only allowed 1.7 yards per rush were Fatorma and Sean Martin. Both those guys played really well. And then I already talked, we gave a blue-collar award to Jaheim Joseph, too, because he came down and really mixed it up and pulled the pin and tackled those big running backs, did a nice job. Our developmental guys this week, on offense, Tyler Evans, who does a nice job for us. Defensively, it was Donovan Grayson, and then on special teams, it was T.J. Johnson. All three of those guys kind of keyed our success. So those are the guys for the awards. And then turning the page to Iowa State. So another big game on Saturday. It's kind of life in the Big 12. It just, you win one and you're on to the next one. And that's kind of what we did yesterday. This one's a special one just because we're paying. We're wearing the Coal Rush uniforms and paying homage to the West Virginia mining industry. And so I think it's important. It's an important game for our state. And I know our guys are looking forward to wearing that and all the stuff that goes with it. Ton of respect for Iowa State, what Coach Campbell's built there. Done a really nice job. Talk about them each phase. Special teams-wise, they blocked 2 punts, which obviously catches your attention. And then 13, who's one of their leading receivers also, he's an excellent returner. And their specialists are really good. The kicker made a game-winning field goal. Their punter's got a nice average. They're doing a nice job with their specialists. Offensively, they're balanced, very multiple. They've ran the ball extremely well the last 3 weeks. They shift, they motion, a lot of different tight ends play. I think it starts with them, with Rocco. He's playing at a high level. And I pull for him every game. This will be the first time I don't pull for him, when he rolls in here. But great kid, and we'll also be honoring his dad, who's a Hall of Fame. He's obviously watching his son play when we did that versus Kansas, but we'll honor him. We'll honor Anthony during the game on Saturday. So looking forward to honoring him. But Rocco's playing at a high level. He's keeping plays alive, very efficient with the football, and executing that or running that offense at a really efficient level right now. They've got two receivers that are playing really well, Higgins and Noel. They move them around. They do a nice job of getting them the ball in a bunch of different ways. They're kind of running back by committee, but they're all playing. All three of the guys they play are playing well right now. And again, multiple tight ends. Those guys are kind of growing up on the job, so that gives you a lot of flexibility. Defensively, Coach Haycock, he's done a great job there. I mean, they've got a system that's in place they've been doing now for a number of years. He's got answers, does a really good job countering within a game. Statistically, you can look at it, it speaks for themselves. I don't need to get up here and talk a whole bunch. You just look at the stat sheet and it tells you what you need to know about them defensively. They mix up coverages. I think their defensive line, they've done a nice job recruiting big bodies that are long. That kind of makes the defense go because they eat up gaps. And then they, in the back end, 17, the middle safety. And then number 7, those two guys they're big bodies. They're 220. They come down and make it hard on you. So really good on defense. So we'll have our hands full, but looking forward to it. So with that, I'll take questions. Greg.
Sort of a follow-up to what we're talking about after the game Saturday in terms of your run game improvement. Not that you've been bad, especially offensive line-wise, but it seemed like that was the best performance Saturday of the year. Was it? And where's that growth? How has that come over the course of the year?
Yeah, so it definitely was. I think, first of all, it was a good matchup for us. I think we had some good matchups, especially in the interior in the game. But that's the best we've played. And it's really about execution. We did a nice job. I thought communication-wise, we've done a good job all year. And when I talk communication, it's O-line and tight end, making sure we all know who's working to the people and getting it identified. But I thought we've been doing a nice job of that all year, led by Brandon Yates. I think our fundamentals, and I think the bye week helped us in that regard. But when I say fundamentals, I'm talking about tight ends, running backs, O-line all together, and the quarterbacks too, because they're a piece of that. We were much better fundamentally. And then our receivers really helped. And, we started talking about in this bye week because I was trying to paint them a picture where they really understood is like our run game is an all 11 approach. It's not, because we do so many things on the perimeter, we do so many things in the read game, we get receiver, so like it's an all 11 approach. Thought the guys bought into that, and we blocked better on the perimeter, and in versus man coverage we did a better job of running them off and getting them out of there.
So it seems pretty self-explanatory, but why did the program throw the 1-0 on the wall over top of the schedule of the facility?
Yeah, just because like we were getting a bunch of questions about how many ranked teams we played, how many what the rest of the schedule looks like, and I'm like, why even show it to them? And I'm like, it's next up. I think that's the way that you got to approach our league now, is because every and y'all have heard me say this a bunch, like. The good thing about this league is you got a chance to win every week. Bad thing about this league is you got a chance to lose every week. Like there's really good coaching. I think the talent is pretty evenly distributed, but among the league. And so for us, I think it's just better to keep our eyes on exactly what's in front rather than worrying about anything in the future.
You got a plan that's working, and you start eliminating things. Was there a lot that you had in there that? Because I remember you mentioned not throwing the ball to the running backs. That was part of the plan. When you're going through that, you just start saying, okay, this is working, take this away.
Yeah, so I think when you get into a game plan, you got your plan, how you're going to start, and then you got your counters kind of off of that. And so when we got up, especially when it was a 3 to 4 score game, like there's not a reason to do some of that stuff. And they did a couple things different too. Like they played a lot of bear in the second half. That's not something they usually do except in a goal line situation. They were fitting a couple things at 12 personnel differently. I called a couple of the pass plays to get the ball to the running back, and they switched it off differently than they had. And so, but broader scope is you go in, okay, this is plan, and if they do this, I want to counter with this. And then we just got into a really good rhythm running the football, and that's kind of what we stuck with.
How are you health-wise?
Justin Robinson was close last week. He practiced today, and I think he'll be back. The rest of the guys that got injured in the game, I'll know more probably through Wednesday. I don't know if all of them will practice maybe till Wednesday, but I'm hopeful. There's nobody that's definitely out as of right now.
Your defensive guys said that they got together after the Pitt game and had some heart-to-heart. As a head coach, what's your feeling on groups doing that within the team? And,
I think accountability is important, but I don't know if meetings, I don't know if that shit really matters. You know what I mean? Like, it's about going out and you got to work, you got to practice. But I do think accountability is important. And sometimes accountability occurs in a meeting room. Sometimes it occurs in the practice field. We talk about ownership a lot, and we try to really show that from a coaching perspective. Like I try to be honest in front of the group when I make a mistake or when I call a bad play, or we do something that doesn't put our guys in the best position, and the position coaches and coordinators do the same. And we try to model that, so when you do make a mistake as a player, you can take ownership of that, and then you hope that you have older guys, some veteran guys that will hold other people accountable, and whether it's watching film on your own, whether it's doing the workouts, whether it's doing stuff after practice, et cetera, you want some accountability. And so I think that's probably the most important piece of it is defensively. There's probably more accountability. We've simplified, we went back to basics. We've tackled pretty well all year. We just haven't covered as well. But I thought Saturday, that was the best we've executed our zone coverage. We did a really good job. We had 2 sacks, which nobody sacked them all year. I think they had 1 coming into it, and both of them were coverage sacks. Now, the guys that got the sack did a nice job continuing to work, but those were coverage sacks. And so I thought we did a better job of being in our zone droppers, finding crossers, et cetera.
having Jordan in the press box?
I think it's helped. I think it's helped. I think it's been good for him because you can see better there. I mean, it's obvious. Anytime you're up high, you can definitely see better than you can on the field. I think, and I said this last week, somebody asked me what it does when you're in the press box. It takes the emotions out of the game. Now, you'll have to ask him if that's better or worse for him. But it does take the emotions out of the game because you're so far away. And so it's much calmer there. It's more peaceful. You can do some more thinking. You can be more organized in between series because you're sitting at a table. I think there's some benefits to that.
Did you see a difference in the way the defense approached practice and kind of the way they went about things after that Pitt game, after they kind of talked to each other, kind of had that accountability discussion?
Nah, I don't know. We practiced pretty well. It's been more of a performance issue. If I really saw us playing the pass that poorly in the first 3 games, I wouldn't have talked about how I thought we were better all fall camp. You know what I mean? But we practiced pretty well. I think just execution and understanding the details of what we're doing, and then reducing the package of coverages that we were playing has been helpful. But we weren't practicing poorly before. We just weren't doing our job on Saturday. Now I think what happens is we had some success versus Kansas, and so doing the little things right in the fourth quarter, and you maybe have some aha moments, like. Any of y'all that have kids, there's going to be a time at some point where they're like, "Oh yeah, oh you're right." Well, yeah, but you got to learn some hard lessons along the way. So, but I think there was some of that, some aha moments that, oh yeah, if we do these little things, we can stop people in the pass. We can be good on defense, And I think that spilled over to the bye week, and then we played really physical. We strained, and I thought we executed at a high level on Saturday.
What has kept Haycock above the curve, I guess? I mean, you've studied this defense. He's been around for 10 years. It's kind of like pulling teeth. Why has he been able to stay ahead of the curve?
That's a question you'd have to ask him. You got
to prepare for it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've played against him. I don't know him personally.
Yeah.
Got a lot of respect for him from his coaching perspective. I think what happened, like, this is my opinion, when you're in a system that you've been in for a long time, you're always tweaking, but you're able to have answers. And that's something I tell our young coaches a lot. Okay, they'll have a great play. I'm like, okay, but what if they do this? Because you got to have an answer. You got to have a counter. And he's got great answers. If you look at their stats, they're, really since we started playing them, I know this. They're a lot better statistically in the second half than the first half, and that tells me because of coaching, they're able to fix things that offenses are maybe taking advantage of them. The other thing too, I think that's as offenses have become more multiple and there's more pre-snap movement and stuff. When you play that front, there's not a whole lot of box movements, and so there's not as many moving pieces with that group as there is with some others. But just playing against him, he stays steady. I would say, I don't know this, but I would assume that, I think he's got some good people helping him, like on game day and in game prep mode, because they have good answers.
Conversely, as a play caller, you have to have answers to those answers.
Yeah, it's a chess match. It's kind of the fun part of it, right? This is a game that you get excited about just because they're so good on defense, and he's so good. No question.
Wyatt talked about feeling like the offensive line clicked this past week going into the Oklahoma State game. Would you agree with that assessment, and what maybe did you notice different in them leading up to the game collectively?
I think the chemistry in that room has been pretty good all year. I think what you're seeing is Brandon Yates getting more comfortable at center. It's a tough position to play. And there's a ton of communication into it, when a team has multiple fronts like Oklahoma State. And so I think you're seeing the maturation of him playing center, and that's helped the entire offensive line. I would say that as much as anything. I think there was a lot of confidence in our plan last week because we were able to do different things, but it was the same picture for the offensive line. I think anytime you can do that, it gives them an advantage. And so, but as far as how they've prepared, that room really over the last couple of years, man, have done it at a really high level.
You mentioned his efficiency, but what are some other things that you see in Rocco Beck that are allowing him to play as special as he is right now?
Well, I think he's highly intelligent, and they do a lot of things offensively, and you can only do what your quarterback allows you to do, and they do a bunch of things. And I think that he does a really good job manipulating safeties with his eyes. He's got good touch on the ball. I think he's like he's a sneaky runner, man. He's a good athlete, and what he does, he extends plays. You know, I saw a deal where they were comparing him to Brock Purdy, which I don't think it's ever fair to compare anybody to anybody. I don't think that's – but when you watch him, like, he's operating that offense very similar. They're operating very similar to how they did when he was there, which is a huge compliment to Rocco. He's keeping plays alive. He's just doing a nice job, and you can tell he's playing with a lot of confidence too.
I'm a ball watcher during the game, but I did notice Livingston. What was your thoughts of him when he got in there?
Yeah, did a nice job. I mean, you could talk this, like we talk about this a lot, man, is next man up, and you better be ready so you don't have to get ready. And I think there's a lot of examples of that. If you think about it, Landon goes in, and we go down on a touchdown drive. You know, and it wasn't just like a one play. It was 6, 7, 8 plays. And he played and executed and did a nice job. And I think that and we have confidence in him. You know, Nico comes in, and he threw a touchdown, and we went on a touchdown drive. You know, he didn't have to get ready. He was already ready. You know, I think Boyce on defense. You know, he had to play 21 snaps, I think, on defense. And made one critical error, but other than that, played pretty solid. And so I think that just speaks to – and again, coming off a bye week where guys like that got a bunch of reps, I think that's helpful also.
Yeah, what did Kikora give you? Was that a bit of a surprise?
Who'd you say? I'm sorry.
Kikora, Tarnu.
Oh, yeah, Tarnu. All right. KK is much easier. All right. So, you know, here's what he did. So during the bye week, we started playing him at Spear, and he's got flexibility. So if you go back, he's kind of had an interesting career, but he's had an interesting career, but through his career, he's played nickel, he's played corner, and he's played safety. And so he played safety here early, but he's got good coverage skills. And so, you know, if you remember versus Kansas, we really got stuck in like having to play 3 corners, and they hurt us in the run game with that. So we wanted to get another bigger body if Aubrey got hurt again, which he unfortunately did, and he'll be back this week. But KK was able to go in there, and we were able to do the exact same stuff that we did with Aubrey. And I thought for his first game at that position, he practiced for 2 weeks, and for his first game, made one mistake that really hurt us. Other than that, I thought he performed well, and he'll continue. I think he's played himself in a position to continue to play.
I know Crandall didn't play much. Did he finish the game, or did he come out?
No, he played.
Okay.
Yeah, Crandall played. He played on special teams, and he played in the second half on defense. He didn't practice much last week. I think he started practicing maybe Wednesday or something like that.
All the like intangible stuff, like Jaheim said, everybody's more familiar, they're more comfortable. You mentioned just kind of simplifying things, but like
You talking about Jaheim Joseph?
just secondary.
Yeah.
Sorry. So that's how it's supposed to like shape what's happening on the field. Like what's fundamentally football-wise better as far as like the plays that are happening or aren't happening for that matter?
Well, so in the run game, we've played pretty, I would say, above average with the exception of the Kansas game. All right. And some of that was because we just played a light box. And so, but we played the run well. I think that we've tackled well for most of you. Now, we tackled at another level on Saturday, but we've tackled pretty well heading into that game. Coverage-wise so when you do this, regardless of what zone coverage you're playing, is you've got certain and I've said this before, you got certain landmarks, you got certain depths, and then there's different rules built in, whether you're condensed, whether it's teams extra wide, whether you have crossers, et cetera. You have to have some built-in rules. And so I think as we've simplified, what we've done is we've got a better understanding what those rules are. We're executing those rules, and we're doing a better job of getting to our landmarks at our depths. And so it's kind of boring, but that's really the reason why we're playing better.
You've seen the ball better as a result because you like dropped interception, but you guys
We
were making
did.
plays
So
too.
part of it is, and we may, as the year progresses, it may even be this week, get back to where we're playing some more man coverage, which we did earlier in the year. But what that did is really hurt us on quarterback scrambles, and we didn't have vision on balls. So when you play zone, you have vision on the football, and so we do have more eyes. That's a fair assessment, but we got to make those plays.
With an 8 o'clock game, what's the head coach's day like?
On game day?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll do. So we'll start everything a little bit later. You can't just let them sleep in as late as they probably would like. So we'll usually get up and go by 9 or so. We'll staff meet, and then we'll do a breakfast, and then we'll come over here to the IPF and do our walkthrough and kind of move around a little bit more because it's such a late start. usually we just stay at the hotel. We'll probably come over to the IPF and do a stretch and do our special teams and our offense and defense walkthrough. We'll go back to the hotel, get a light lunch, and then we'll give them about 3 or 4 hours downtime, and then we'll do our pregame meal, team meet, and do the man trip, and get ready to go. It's just longer, you know what I mean? I try to exercise at some point. We'll have a bunch of recruits here, I'm sure, so I'll do some visiting with them. But the later games, I'd really kick them all off at 11 or 12 because I can have a normal day after that. But I think our fans like the 8 o'clock better, and it is good to have some night games. But I say that in jest some. But it's not. It's really not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot different for me. You get some downtime right in the middle of the day. Everything's hurried up. The earlier you play, man, it's hurry. It's a hurry up mode. So it's a little bit calmer day when you play at night.
Which doesn't leave you, the iPad or the phone?
That neither. I'm not like. Usually by the time I'm thinking about some things for the quarterback on Saturday as far as from an offensive perspective, but I'm not sitting there watching what they're doing on Friday or Saturday. It's kind of done by then. The phone, I'll watch a little bit of some games, especially if it's people we're going to play. But I'm not sitting there watching the pregame shows or anything.
Just where is he now for you? More mistakes through the first 4 games than probably you would have liked, but it seems like the last 2 games certainly there's a difference in his confidence and play.
Yeah, I think he didn't play very well versus Penn State, which I stated. He was fine. He played pretty well against Albany. I think that's the best completion percentage he's had. And then the Pitt game was just kind of up and down. He wasn't as accurate, but he made some good decisions. He made some plays, especially in that third quarter. He made a bunch of plays. And then the Kansas, like he went in to win, really in that fourth quarter, he was special. And he really, y'all don't see this, but he made some checks and stuff in the game, some run checks and some protection checks in that game on Saturday that were really good to see from a quarterback that's maturing. I thought his decisions when to run and when not to run were good, and he was accurate with the ball, with the exception of 2 go balls, and it was windy. I don't know if y'all could tell that on TV, but it was pretty windy there. So I'm pleased with his progression. I think his best is still out there.
Point this out. I mean, your players weren't aware of this, but this is the third 5-0 team on your schedule. Obviously, you're aware of that, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I think, but the thing that I think about is I'm disappointed that we didn't, the Pitt game was winnable and we didn't win it. I'm disappointed that we didn't play very well versus Penn State, but we're not going to go back and they won't allow us to play them again, So it's kind of water under the bridge and kind of on to the next, and we got a bunch of really good teams on the schedule. But
the flip of it is it's a good schedule. I mean, good, solid, outstanding.
Oh yeah, we're playing good people.
Yeah,
we're playing good people. I don't know if anybody cares. If you're 5-0, we don't play anybody. All that matters is you're 5-0. I mean, that's the truth. But the thing that it does is our guys aren't going to blink in these games. They're not going to blink. It's kind of this is kind of just the next really good football team we play. And so our guys, when we start talking about the next opponent, whether it's Iowa State or Kansas State or Arizona or whoever's after that, is they're like, oh, okay, they're going to be really good. Well, just like the other teams we played, so our guys aren't going to blink, and it kind of is what it is. And we just got to get ready. We got to get healthy, and we got to get mentally and physically ready to go for Saturday night.
For nerves or anything this time because you said you didn't see the Penn State game.
Yeah,
right?
Here's the thing: like all the other stuff that was around that game, like we're just not going to allow that for this one, and just kind of put our blinders on and go. I think when things don't go right, which obviously didn't go right for us Penn State wise, you got to go back and really evaluate, and so we probably made some decisions going into that weren't in the best interest for some guys, as far as I'm just talking about exposure and things like that. So kind of minimize the distractions this week and just go about playing football.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you all.